of you. Thank you.
It's very generous of you to be here with us for 3 days at Star Wars Weekends. Now, I had to steal that one little shot there.
That's okay.
That's pretty good.
Did I ruin the shot?
No, yeah, you were kind of in it. I was trying to get a shot of them, but there you were. It's all right. Frank Oz photobombed y'all, so there you go. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. This is not your first time at Disney World, but it is your first time at Star Wars Weekends.
Yeah, first time here.
Well,
Thank you. And it's been magnificent. I mean, it's just wonderful. The reaction, you guys are just so warm and welcoming. It's fantastic.
it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
And we have had the opportunity to sit down and chat every day at 5:15. Friday, Saturday, and now Sunday. And you were saying that we pretty much run out of questions.
There's nothing else I have to say.
Well, I mean, I have a few. Okay, all right, I'll give it a shot. Yesterday, for those of you that weren't here, we did chat about characters. So many different characters, because you worked on this little show, Sesame Street and the Muppets, these shows. And I don't know, kind of shaped and formed my life and probably most people's in this room. Taught me about comedy and timing and music and variety. And was that the intent with the Muppet Show, to show like old vaudeville, to show new, old mixed together? I mean, what was the intent with that show?
Yeah, it was, again, I said this the other two times, I've got to say it for you guys, that I'm here getting all the credit, but there are people, number one, Jim Henson, and then... Jerry Gould, Don Saline, Dave Gold, Jerry Nelson, who's passed away, all these great people I could not be here without, so they should be on the stage with me. I'm not being modest, I'm just saying what's true. But as far as the Muppet Show goes, I guess the intent was just to entertain. I mean, Jim, we wanted to do that show for years. Jim wanted to, and so I remember, 10 years before the show even came about, we would go around, the four of us with these big black boxes of puppets. We'd go across town to ABC and audition. They didn't want us. We went off to NBC. They didn't want us. Went to an ad agency. They weren't interested. Or they said, oh, well, Bill's got to see this, so we had to come back and do it for Bill. And nobody really had any idea how to use puppets on television. They thought only for kids.
And Saturday Night Live was actually one of the first places we saw the Muppets. Is that true?
No, not really.
Is this how it's going to be? No, but that was, they were in the first season, and people don't really know about that much.
Yeah, we were in the first season, but we were doing many, many more things prior to that.
Certainly. Commercial work and Sesame Street.
You have no idea.
I have. Great. It'll be great. It'll be fun.
No, Saturday Night Live, we were on the very first year of Saturday Night Live, and nobody remembers. What actually happened was that Bernie Brillstein, who has since passed away, was the agent for Jim Henson and also for John Belushi, Danny Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, etc., and Lorne Michaels. And at that time, all those people were totally unknown. And oddly enough, we were the only people who were known because we were on Sesame Street and we had done many, many variety shows. So we came on board, and as much as we really had a great time there, we didn't fit. Our humor, the Muppets' humor, is more explosive. Really gone too far this time. He can't handle it. And every time he did it, he's amazing. Broke all the boundaries. This particular one was an early version of 3D. And if you see it, have you seen the movie at all? Yeah. If you see it again, you might notice that the first shot, a wide shot, goes on for a very long time. We don't cut. We continue the wide shot for a long, long time, and there are very few cuts in it. And that's because, 25, 30 years ago, they didn't have 3D as sophisticated as now, where you could cut, because the cut was too jarring at that point for the eye. So we had no choice but to have a longer, what they call a master shot. So if you notice that, that's the reason for it. The technology wasn't there. But Jim, Jim loved trying new things, loved experimenting, and this was kind of an experiment at that time.
Yeah.
He passed away towards the end of that, after we shot it, and I finished the Waldo part where he's the creature. So I finished that for him. But I remember Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg at Disney, when I was doing it, they said, okay, how much do you want to be paid? And I said, I don't want any money for this. I said, what? I said, I don't want any money. I'm doing it for Jim. I said, well, you got to pay something. How about $50,000? I said, no, I just don't want the money. I'm sorry. Well, they couldn't quite understand that, And they said, what do you want? I said, I need socks. I need some socks. And so I finished it a month later, and then when I showed them the first cut, they came with a whole basket of socks. Mickey Mouse socks.
Pretty good. Awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate Muppet Vision 3D here, don't we? It's so fun. Down the characters yesterday for us. We went through so many various Muppets, and it was really fantastic. But I really do want to focus on this one character that I think we all know and love very much, and why we're here, and that is, of course, Yoda. When did you first hear about Yoda? Was it right when you get the script, or did they? How did all that come about?
Well, for those of you who were here when I said it before, I have to say it again. It's the truth. I can't make it up just to please the new guys.
Well, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to do.
No, what happened was I was shooting the Muppet movie with Jim and all the guys in Los Angeles, and they went to Jim first, and he realized he was running a company and he couldn't do it. He also knew that it just wasn't his thing. He could do things that nobody else in the world could do. He was brilliant. But there's a few things he knew that I could do also a little bit better, which is more, acting background. So he suggested me, and then they brought the designs to the trailer, my trailer, and they were designs that don't look like Yoda now. They looked like a wizened character, but it was all different kinds of wizened characters. But I saw one, and I thought, sometimes it takes me a long time to get a character. Like Bert took me like a year.
Really?
And others kind of accumulate slowly and eventually get there. But Yoda somehow, I know this character.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know, but I get it. And so when I said, yeah, great. And then I think, essentially, I hadn't seen the script then. You were talking about script.
Well, I was just wondering, when you first heard about it. So you heard about it first. It wasn't like, here's the script, here's the character. That's how you discovered it.
No. I got the script. Actually, George gave me only my portion of the script. And
he has a tendency to do that.
Yeah, but I had to say, George, I can't do that. If Yoda is supposed to be wise, and maybe not knowing what's going on, but sensing it through the Force, I got to know what's going on the whole thing.
That's
right. So he was good enough to understand that. Sure. And so I read the whole script, and that's that Larry Kasdan wrote with George, and that was like 25 years ago, was it? Sure. Something like that. I don't know. Yeah. And essentially, I rehearsed for about 2 weeks, and shot for a week and a half, 2 weeks. I forgot.
Really, it was just, and then it was really primarily just you and Mark Hamill with the crew.
Kirshner and R2D2, and Kirsch who directed.
And then you come back and you do Jedi and Return of the Jedi, and Yoda. It's a very dramatic scene. I remember seeing Return of the Jedi at a young age, and Yoda passes away. Spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen it. That was an incredibly dramatic scene for all of us. How do you?
It was for me too.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how was that? You know, because were you thinking I'm saying goodbye to this character for good now?
I wasn't really thinking about that. When I do my work, I just focus on the moment.
Okay.
So I can't think of future. My job and my desire is to focus just on what I'm doing. And you know, I didn't want to while a dramatic death scene. I tend to work against things.
Yeah.
So that's why his head was turned away from Mark, so it wouldn't be dramatic. You know, so you wouldn't have a last gasping thing. I wanted it more delicate and soft. But it was dramatic for me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he comes back years later in the prequels, as we call them, episodes 1, 2, and 3, Phantom Menace, and he is a puppet again.
He's a puppet with Sam. Was it
with Sam Jackson
yeah.
and Ewan McGregor and
it was Sam, and Ewan. Yeah, the two different. Weren't they two different ones?
No, those would all. He was a puppet again only in the first one, and then he was replaced CG thereafter. But I love how I'm just telling you about this. This feels awesome.
It's funny. I get totally confused about episode 1, 2, whatever. That's why I do have to ask.
Yeah. No. So was it a very different experience working with all these new people and and a younger Yoda? He's younger. Was there any?
Yeah, I had to do something a little bit with Yoda's voice and mouth and such to make it seem younger, a little bit younger.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I ask whenever I'm doing Yoda. I say about how old is he compared to Empire, because I do have to adjust a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But
when you're 900 years old, and then there's what we're talking like a 18-year gap or whatever, it's not
much notice.
Yeah. But was it still fun? Was it still great to return to this character?
I can't say it's fun in the sense of aren't I having a good time. The fun for me comes from the challenge.
Okay.
That's the fun for me is this extraordinary challenge, and getting to the point where George feels he's got it.
Yeah.
Or Kirsch, whoever's directing, and that's the great part for me. And then the editor puts it together. So the fun is the challenge, and meeting the challenge, and hopefully going beyond it.
What is your favorite Yoda affirmation or piece of advice that he gave? Is there a particular thing that really resonated with you when he was teaching Luke?
Well, I think the thing that resonates with me, whether one is religious or not, is when he says the Force is all around you. Now, you can have that as God, you can have the Force, you can have as nature, whatever you want to interpret it as. But I think that's probably my favorite, because I think there is something there, whatever we choose to do. So that, to me, that has a sense of power, that we're not completely alone.
And was that something you would draw from with this character, thinking that he's just really in touch with a lot of things?
Yeah, what I love about Grover?
Grover's my favorite, but come on. I think I'll use the Jedi mind trick on you right there. I just wanted to get back to Grover.
Okay, so I get confused sometimes with the characters. I apologize.
You've only done a couple, so
I forgot what.
Well, with Yoda, he's got this just very kind of calm sense about him. But we really did see a different side of him when he became this CG character that then is fighting with Dooku and the Emperor with Ian McDiarmid, which of course you had directed Ian.
Ian, who I don't know if you saw Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Ian I cast as the butler with Michael Caine. So I don't know if you're aware of that, but Ian was this wonderful actor, and I underused him completely. But he was a gem to work with, and how funny it was that now we're working.
And it makes you wonder if that was like that battle between them. That was him getting back at. But so, well, yeah, go ahead.
I think that the part of Yoda that I think is powerful and I think needed is there's a gravitas. Because all these guys are shooting and saving each other and trying to threaten each other. There's a gravitas, a plumb line that goes deep.
And I could tell there was an energy about that. There is something there. It is a strange combination. Would you call that a black comedy? It's kind of, I mean, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I mean, I had done because of Jim Henson. He asked me to co-direct Dark Crystal, which is like it could now be like a $200 million movie. And I did not co-direct. I helped him direct his movie, okay? He had the vision. I helped him direct his movie. But then he asked me to direct Muppets Take Manhattan, and so I rewrote that and did that. So David Geffen saw that and asked me, and I remember saying no first. I said, no, I can't do that, because I didn't understand it. It was like a plant, weighed a ton, 14 songs, special effects, guest stars. I couldn't get my head around it, so I said no first.
Really?
Yeah.
And then how long before you came back?
Then I did it, and he was shocked. He says, nobody says no to me. But I wasn't trying to be, a streppers. I just didn't know how to do it. And then I was doing a job in Toronto, some commercial or something, 4 weeks later. And then somehow I got the key. And the key was that those 4 girls on stage came in from stage right or stage left and exited stage right and stage left. And I realized it's film, it's 360 degrees, so I can have those girls bop anywhere. As soon as I got that, that was the key to open it up for me. Let me tell you, I don't know if you ever heard of Howard Ashman. Howard gave me the best advice for Little Shop of Horrors. Now, Little Shop of Horrors, why I'm talking a lot.
Well, and for those that don't know who Howard Ashman is,
Howard Ashman wrote Little Shop of Horrors. He also did the lyrics for Beauty and the Beast. He also did the lyrics for Mermaid. I mean, he's brilliant, okay? But when I finally said yes, then I started really getting into it and doing some nonsense director-actor stuff to myself, like saying, well, what's the motivation for Seymour to do this and everything? So I asked Howard to lunch, actually, at the Plaza Hotel. And this is the best advice he ever gave. I sat there with Howard, and I said, Howard, ask me questions. I said, when Seymour does this, what does he really want? What's the motivation? And I said, when Owen does this, or Bella does this, what's the motivation? And he says, Frank, this is supposed to be stupid. The best advice I ever, and I said, oh, I get it. It was great.
well, do you mind taking another question from the audience?
Of course not.
It would really be awful if you said yes.
Yes, yeah, I do mind.
Comfortable.
No, I'm not at all.
Okay, here's the thing. This really comes back to when we were talking about 2 other characters. Jeremy from Denton, Texas. Jeremy, where are you? Are you out there? Jeremy, raise your hand. Stand up if you're there. There you are. He had to check if that was really him. Jeremy from Denton, Texas asks, Yoda versus Super Grover, who would win?
Well, if you're talking about a fight,
Yeah.
Yoda wouldn't fight, and Super Grover wouldn't know how to fight.
I think that pretty much sums it up. I know of no other way to say thank you than to say, may the force be with you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Frank Owen.